This episode was a clear indication that Brit Edie has no business on this show, like, at all.
Welcome to the Asia Esterak Hour, where film meets conspiracy and pop culture gets a reality check. From sharp recaps to sci-fi theories and media deep dives, Asia Esterak serves it unfiltered. Let the binge begin.
All right, welcome back to the Asia Esterak Hour. I'm Asia Esterak. All right, the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, was it episode 14, chapter 2, Reset. I don't know what we're resetting, but here we are. All right, so it's the next morning. The ladies are reflecting on the wild night before, mainly Brit and her drinking too much. So Brit threw up getting out of the van, or the Sprinter van, the night before, and of course Bravo shows it. Can we normalize muting the sound of somebody throwing up? Like, I don't want to hear that shit. Ew. So she throws up, and then later on, she comes out, and they show Brit talking to her husband on the phone, and she's talking about how she drank too much. And I had to take off my corset. So they show her walking into the house. She took off her whole top, titties out, holding them, walking in, and Shamea and Kelli are like, are you naked? Brit, you don't know how to hold your liquor? Okay. So anyway, so they all meet in the main spot to decide what they're going to be doing next. Shamea announces that Shamea, Porsha, Cynthia, and Phaedra are all going to the waterfall, and the remaining ladies, which is Drew, Brit, Kelli, and Angela, they're all going to a cooking class with Kelli. There's a little bit of tension between Shamea and Brit because they're all reflecting about the night before, and Brit alludes to the fact that she didn't get her chance to speak. They flash back to the night before. She's holding the crystal and she's trying to talk. Drew points out the tension between Shamea and Brit that morning, and she's like, no one's addressing it. They were like passive aggressively addressing it, but that's going to blow up later in the episode. So they all leave. They go on their respective journeys. The ladies that are going with Shamea to the waterfall are in one van. The rest of the ladies with Kelli going to the cooking class are in another van. So Shamea and them are on their way to this waterfall, and they start talking about the donations for the hurricane relief that they're going to be doing for Grenada. Hurricane Earl, I think that's what it was, Hurricane Earl. In typical fashion, Housewives, even real life, you would be kikiing about it. Shamea talks about how Brit showed up with the least amount of supplies. And her whole thing is, she's over here, rolls up in a Rolls Royce with a Birkin. And Bravo flashback, Brit had this empty ass. Homegirl had a busted box. The top wasn't even closed all the way. And then she made up, which was clearly a lie, about how I'm gonna send other people to bring some stuff over after. So they all talk about that, and Phaedra's like, Phaedra says that, and she says this later on in the episode, but when you're at that caliber, a minimum of $1,000, I have to agree. We later find out in that same conversation that Brit only donated $250 on top of the 3 paper towels. The math ain't mathing. Old girl is a scammer, and I don't know how she got on the show. I'll do my evaluation at the end because I got a lot to say about that. So in the other van, I can't remember what the ladies were talking about. It wasn't memorable. It wasn't memorable to me. So anyway, they get to the house, the cooking class. The ladies get to the waterfall. Shamea, for not having her luggage, is doing her thing. She's borrowing Porsha's clothes at this point. They were doing a cute little photo shoot thing in the under the waterfall. It's nice to see beautiful Black women of a certain age looking amazing. Porsha, I fell the fuck out. I guess she was supposed to be taking a picture or filming something, and she didn't hit record or whatever. And she was like, oh my God, I'm really feeling 40, y'all. I'm really over 40. Porsha, I've had those moments too. I forgot how to spell please last week. I was like, Please. That don't seem right. I don't know. Maybe that's not an age thing. That's a human thing, but hilarious nevertheless. So the other ladies are at the other house, which turns out that it was a family-owned home that was built in, I think he said, the 1930s, and they own their own rum distillery or whatever alcohol, but it was Black-owned, so that's all that I heard. Black-owned, family-owned, since the 1930s, generational wealth. We love that. So the chef comes out and is showing them some new recipes that they're going to be cooking. And Kelli said that she, you know, being a chef, she likes to learn other dishes. They were complimenting on how good looking the men are. The men are fine. The men was fine. The one dude that was with the chef that didn't talk, with the hair and I was like, hi, how you doing? I'm such a horny toad. Anyway, so it was funny because they all were talking about how fine the men in Grenada are. And then they were like, well, Angela's married. Angela's like, I have eyes. So anyway, they all sit down to eat. They're kind of talking about the tension with Brit and Shamea. Not a whole lot of resolve there because for me, Brit doesn't have critical thinking skills. She's dumb. And it's so obvious that she's extremely insecure and really, I don't think she's built for reality TV. And we all know that now based off this dumbass, ridiculously baseless lawsuit against Bravo and NBC Universal. But whatever. So they switch over and they talk to Drew. So Kelli is messy, but I love Kelli. So Kelli lifts up this black paper napkin. She goes, so Drew, what about... And so the other ladies are also talking about Drew and this guy Black, because they're eating lunch too now at the waterfall as well. So basically all the ladies are eating lunch at the same time in separate locations. Kind of funny. Drew just says that's her friend, and her whole thing is I'm getting a divorce, I'm getting a divorce, I'm getting a divorce. Drew, you're probably banging homeboy. Don't nobody care. But I get it. She has an image to uphold. I usually give Drew a lot of shit every week because I think she's a fucking liar, and that's never going to change. I'm going to say this real quick. Here's my thing with Drew Sidora. Drew Sidora lies about shit like, Michael Jordan's my cousin. We have the same last name, and I speak 5 languages. A chick that would lie about little ass shit like that will lie about anything. So I don't ever believe her. Sorry, not sorry. The only time I've ever believed Drew Sidora on her entire 5 years on this show was, 2 episodes ago when her mom was telling her about how her kids are affected by the separation of her divorce and them all living in the same house and that whole mess and her crying and all that. That's the only time I've ever actually believed her, like ever. But anyway, I digress. I'm not going to give her no shit. If she doesn't want to talk about who she's sleeping with while she's in the separation mode, that's her business. No reason to pry. I thought that shit was hilarious when Kelli was like, imagine like going out with another man, getting your back blown out, something like that, and then coming home and she's like, I would just wake him up and tell him what happened. At this point, you guys are roommates. Hilarious. But obviously Drew, don't get down like that. And that's her business and whatever. It's funny because the other ladies are kikiing about Drew, and Porsha was like, me and Drew just got cool again. I'm not getting involved. I'm not doing it. To go back to Brit real quick, they mentioned, so Brit said at her at that little ridiculous event that she had, she mentions at the end that she feels like she's not supported by the other ladies. And she's like, you guys don't ever invite me anywhere. So Porsha points out to her, like, you haven't invited anybody to anything either. Like, you have to reach out as well. And Brit and her kind of go a little bit back and forth about that in the flashback. And then they come back. And in Portia's confessional, she had a great point. She's like, she keeps saying that she doesn't feel supported by us, but like, we don't know you. We got to get to know you still. And you haven't given us a whole lot to go with, you know. Unfortunately, they've been privy to all the negative shit about Brit, you know. So, and she just, how did she make it this? How did she make it on this show? The shit that I'm seeing, I'm like, how did she get cast on this? Outside of being controversial as far as her sexcapades and her, you know, prior to being on the show, I don't know. I don't know why she's here. Anyway, this episode was a whole lot of sitting around talking shit about each other. So they come back from their excursion. They get back to the house. They're all getting ready again to go to another dinner where the Prime Minister of Grenada is going to be joining them, and they're emphasizing that they need to be on time. So the ladies are all having like pre-gaming a little bit, dressed up. Shamea comes out in this really cute outfit that Porsha lent her, and she's just talking about, by the way, you find out at the top of the episode that they now can no longer locate Shamea's luggage. This shit happened to me a while back. They ended up finding my luggage, but it was like 4 days later that I got it. I feel like by the time Shamea gets her luggage, they're going to be leaving Grenada. Anyway, so Shamea and them are pre-gaming. Shamea, you are being passive-aggressive. That's the only time I'm going to agree with you, Brit. So Shamea's like, you guys want to take shots before we leave? And she makes a statement about, you know, anybody that wants to take a shot, that wants to, you're welcome to. Kind of throwing shade at Brit a little bit. First of all, real quick, so earlier in the episode when Brit was mad about the whole shots thing, she makes this comment. My thing is, you're the only person, everybody else was taking as many shots as you were, but you're the only person that threw up because you can't handle your alcohol. At your big ripe age, you should know when to cut yourself off. You should know that. Like, come on. So Brit makes this comment, you know, shots are really for like college students, and like, we're ladies with husbands. It's not very classy. Brit loves to bring up classiness and all this shit. You're not classy. You haven't done anything of class yet. She's the epitome of money can't buy you class. Shout out to Luann. Money can't buy you class. It can't, Brit. It can't. So anyway, this passive aggressive exchange over the alcohol. Brit, it kills me because you don't directly say anything. You only get courage sometimes. And the reality is you're upset about, you're trying to blame Shamea on the shot thing when Shamea was right. Shamea was like, you just could have said no. And of course, Shamea, which I've discovered from this show and previous shows, Shamea is passive aggressive. She does it on purpose. It's hilarious. It's not the most mature thing to do, but she don't see it for you, Brit. She doesn't see it for you. I don't see it for you. I haven't read a comment yet that's seen it for your ass. Anyway, so they get to this dinner. Scratch that. Before they get to the dinner, Angela's trying to get Charles on the phone because she didn't get to talk to him the night before for their anniversary. She gets him on the phone and he is unfazed and unbothered as usual. Despite how things are playing out on screen, I actually think they may have a decent marriage. It might be better than what we're seeing on screen. But this narrative that people not knowing that Charles was married and him living like just his dalliances are a little different is weird because Phaedra and Porsha, I combine their names. Phaedra earlier in the Sprinter van on the way to the waterfalls is kind of giving her evaluation of Angela and Brit. She talks about how Angela is a hard read, but she talks about Charles being a great time. She hasn't hung out with him in 10 years, but she never knew him to be married. And didn't Angela say they've been married about 10 years? I don't know. It's a weird one with Angela and Charles because I actually think things are all right. They give me, we're very private and we don't like to broadcast our business, but it is weird that there is this narrative that nobody knows that he's married. And then even Portia's like in this fake baby thing. But I feel like the baby story is fake too because a baby ain't popped up yet. We 14 episodes into this show, and a side baby ain't popped up. The side piece ain't popped up. And we know how these side pieces be these nowadays. They want everybody to know who they banging. So I don't think that's real. I don't think it's a true story. Nothing is popped up. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I hope it's not true. It's obvious Angela doesn't like people coming for her marriage. It's not helping that the narrative seems to be good between her and Charles, but I actually think they're fine. I don't think there's any tea or anything weird there. But anyway, so they go to this dinner. They sit down. Everything's cool. Kelly's talking about the hurricane stuff. And the prime minister coming and talking about Hurricane Earl, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure she said Hurricane Earl. Then they direct the attention to Brit and the donating and the lack of donating. Shamea starts talking and, of course, is passive-aggressive again, bringing up the Rolls Royce and Birkins. So Brit calls it out. You know, Shamea, I thought that was a little shady. So they get into it. Here's my thing, though, Shamea. You were talking about her, so why didn't you just say it? She does the whole, well, you don't know. I mean, I have a Rolls Royce. She drives a Rolls Royce. Just say it. That's the shit that I don't like. Just say it. Brit, this is the only time I'm going to agree with you. I'm with Brit on that. Like, just say it directly to me. Don't be throwing jabs at the table. Just get to the point. You don't think that I donated enough. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't feel like it. But like, Brit, you got to sit in it and own it. And Shamea, fuck all that extra shit. Just get to the point. Passive aggression is irritating because it gives cowardly. Just get to the point. Fuck all that extra shit. Get to the point. That's just me. I don't know. I saw both their frustrations at the table. But here's my thing though, Brit. Brit, you get mad when people come for you with the dumb shit that you do, and then you don't stand in it. You try to play the victim. You know, the whole alcohol thing, you blamed it on them when all you could have just said is, I don't want any shots. So they're going back and forth a little bit with that. Porsha jumps in to try to, not to talk about the donating, but to just talk about how Brit feels like she's not heard and the whole not being supportive thing. Brit takes offense to that. So Brit does the whole, that's not what I meant, baby, the whole baby thing. And then Porsha's like, well, let's not do the baby thing now. Because Porsha was really trying to say to her, like, if you don't feel supported by us, you know, it's reciprocal. We support you, you have to support us. But if you're only wanting us to come to you, that's, you know what I mean? That's not a good thing. So that exchange did not go well at all. Brit got nowhere with Shamea, Porsha, or really anybody else at the table. That all subsides. A cake comes out, and they just kind of celebrate Angela. They all picked up on the fact that she hadn't talked to her husband. Real quick, before the whole Angela stuff, the prime minister actually comes. They were tussling, arguing a little bit before he got to the table. The attention goes to him, and they're all flirting with him. He's single. Seemed like a cool dude. He talked about visiting Atlanta, you know, whatever. They give the cake to Angela. I believe while he's there. I can't remember if they did it before he came or right after. But either way, meeting with him was nice. They were all joking about who they could fix up with him. The consensus was Porsha and Kelly, and then it landed on Kelly. So they leave the dinner. They're riding back in the vans back to where they're staying, and Shamea's on the phone with her husband, and he reveals that their daughter Shiloh is really sick. The nanny, I guess, had left her in the room, not properly covered up. It was cold. And, you know, Shiloh is still battling a few things, and her immune system isn't totally up to par, so she was sick. Shamea felt really bad. They get back to where they're staying, the villa, hotel, whatever. I'm gonna call it the villa. Shamea's like really upset. She's crying. The ladies kind of rally around her. That's a lot. That's gotta suck because she's working. Her daughter's sick. Her her husband, Shamea's husband seems like a really good dude. Just a very solid dude. Just even the little bit of exchange with him on the phone with her and handling shit with the kid. It was awesome. I thought that was really awesome. I thought it was dope that the ladies rallied around Shamea too, because Shamea was crying. She was upset. Brit, so Brit, I don't know if this was her way of trying to have a peace offering. She comes in, she hugs Shamea, talking about Shamea, I love you no matter what's going on with me and us. Me and you, I always got your back. I love you. I didn't buy none of that shit. It's all fake. Fake as fuck. Then she references the shots. They take shots. This bitch is taking off her bra. It's just, how did she end up on this show? How did she get on the show? She so does not fit in with anyone. And I'm glad that she did this lawsuit because it really showed who she is. She proved to be the ain't shit ass bitch that we all thought she was. And her lack of accountability is fucking fascinating and should be studied. You are actually suing NBC, Universal, and Bravo for sexual harassment and defamation of character. Okay. Anyway, it was nice what she said to Shamea at the end of the episode. I didn't buy none of that shit. That shit seemed fake as fuck. Why is she here? This episode to me was another filler, but it really highlighted Brit this entire episode. It highlighted Brit and her bullshit. I don't think she's a good fit with these ladies. Zero accountability, not mature at all. And she's one of these people where she's, nouveau riche. She's new money. New scammer money is what I get. Because my thing is, how the hell do you drive a Rolls Royce with the Birkin to show up to donate to people for a hurricane relief fund with 3 paper towels and a busted box? The math ain't mathin'. Anyways, Monday, a new week. Let's get this shmoney. I'm fucking tired. It's humid as shit outside. Drink lots of water and be nice to each other.